All right, everybody, welcome to the Loon Sprint 2 planning session. The next sprint, I believe, will be 3 weeks, and so hopefully everybody's done their planning. And let's commence. We can probably start with platform.
So Thomas, we only see your calendar.
Yes.
Oh, whoops. So will this work?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, it was the wrong screen being shared. Okay. So I issued a call for folks to populate their tasks, but
I think there's a filter set.
Oh, there we go. That's much better. Thank you. Okay, that's much better. Okay, great. Platform, Jordan.
All right, so so basically starting out this sprint, finishing up the atomics upgrade that I've been working on. Should have that patch submitted today, so it's not an 8-point task, but there's going to be a lot of testing to do. After that, so one of the things we've been working on sort of as a side project is getting ONOS ready for microservices architecture. Part of that, we ran into an issue with dynamically resizing the cluster, which I'm going to investigate when I get a chance to look at. The transactional event listeners event or task it has to do with the dynamic configuration brigade. So they need essentially a way to group events. So Safari is working on upgrading the transaction framework to be able to group events like that. And the rest of our work is going into ISSU, which I'll talk about later.
Great. And Brian, the TLS task, I presume that's yours?
Yeah, that's mine. So the process for building the key stores and then convincing ONOS to use those key stores is fairly laborious. So I think we can simplify this process with not a lot of work and enable you to generate a shared key that can be used for inter-cluster TLS authentication, intra-cluster TLS communication. And then we can just auto-generate a key, put it in the JSON, and it'll at least enable us to use secured communication via a sneaker-netted private key.
Perfect. Great. Do you think that we should be able to upgrade our STC scenarios, setup scenarios, to use that automatically?
Well, yeah, the idea would be that the scripts that we use to auto-generate the cluster JSON could just be amended so that by default it just puts a cluster communication key in.
Oh, excellent. Great.
Yeah, so yeah, theoretically we should be able to, the scenarios should be upgraded automatically.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, let's go down the list here. Simon, actually, I think Simon is on vacation, right? So is Stephen probably not online, I take it? Don't see him. So I think we're gonna have to skip past this. It looks like the work is gonna continue to try to minify the UI and to upgrade the UI sort of assembly process by Stephen. And looks like Simon has some additional enhancements of the flow view. All right, virtual networking. Okay, I guess that's for Yoon Soon, who's again not online. Looks like there is virtual gateway and host-to-host intent implementation for virtual networks. All right, for dynamic configuration, Sithara asked me to provide an update for this. The idea here is to continue enhancing the RPC handling API. and also to make some changes in order to preserve the ordering of elements in a generated JSON. Right now, unfortunately, we scramble the arrays for some of the elements when they come out of the store, and so the idea is to fix that. And also the counterpart work to what Jordan mentioned for the transactional consolidated events. There's going to be some counterpart work done in dynamic configuration subsystem. Yuta, do you want to give?
Hi, Thomas.
Sure. So I guess one of the entity requirements is going to touch around the area where how you want to synchronize a Yang ONOS feeds to the device. So I'll start looking into that. So those two together about that.
Great. Okay, I think that wraps it up for the dynamic configuration.
Hi, Thomas. This is Iwa. Can you hear me?
Oh, hi, Iwa.
Hi, Thomas. Yeah, actually, I just created a few other stories based on our conversation last time, but I wasn't able to put it under the dynamic config epic. I think there's one that the last one called RPC dispatcher improvements. I put it in the wrong epic. I'm going to fix that, but there's going to be another 3 stories on the net.
Okay, great. So do you think you'll be able to add them today before the sprint starts? That way we can avoid kind of a bump up in scope for the sprint.
Yeah, I'm going to do that right away.
Great, thank you. All right, on deployment.
So I will fix the state condition issue from CPI in this sprint, and the other I think is curating stuff.
Yeah, we'll just add a big west test with some network failures and sound switch down,
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Packet optical.
Okay. Very light load for packet optical this sprint. One is we'll upgrade the OpenROADM app to, I guess, align it with the latest developments in the dynamic config. I mean, the RPC for RESTconf, among other things. The last task there is actually already done and sits on a review. It's just sitting there. It might need a little bit of work, but not that much. And then I presume that's improvement. Maybe John can speak to that.
So that one's under progress, but it's updating the nightly test to use newer topology. Okay.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you, Mark. OpenStack integration. Now, I don't believe we have anybody online, do we, to represent this? So I think we'll just skip that. Otherwise, point-wise, it looks reasonable. 23 points between 3 people. On a northbound.
So this is just finishing up resource service changes. They're in review right now. I'm waiting for some more feedback from Luca, but should be done in the next few days.
Okay, great. So it's a fairly light load for northbound topics. gRPC, is Aaron there?
Negative.
Not okay. So I think we can skip over it. Looks like mostly implementation of the services of the product bug models. Nothing on build and package infrastructure. Is that correct, Brian? Have you heard anything from Vishwa?
I did not. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend their sync up meeting last week. So I'm not sure exactly what they're currently blocked with or planning to work on.
All right.
But they do have another call this week, and I can try to chat with Vishwa and have him add the stories here.
Okay, Perfect. So I will wait to start the sprint. There's no point starting it if there's nothing in it. All right, P4. Who wants to run this, Carmelo?
Yes. So the goal for the sprint is to have first working support for P4 runtime and protocol independence. And we want to do this by running the old BMV2 demo applications. So this is actually the last story in the sprint, and that's the reason. So Arnefa should go through each story, but at a very high level, we plan on continued implementation of the new services for handling, for example, the pipe comms, implement the P4 runtime protocol library. And also there's one story about investigating support for P4 action profiles, which are something similar to groups in OpenFlow. And that's because we didn't consider action profile in the initial design document, but we might need them sooner than what expected. And then there's a continuation of the story from the previous sprint, the translation of criterion types. Then I don't know if he wants to speak about that, about his story.
My story?
Yeah, you have a story.
I should be able to get the sound equipment and set up the people equipment to the in our app, ON.Lab.
Okay. Yes. Then Andrea is not here, so I'm going to speak for him. Andrea will continue his work on the drivers, about implementation of drivers for BMV2, and also extending support for the driver's system to allow for pipeline-specific behaviors. I'll continue my work on so the implementation of the old BMV2 demo applications. And then there's a bunch of stories without asking me. And that's because I plan on finding brigade support after tomorrow's brigade call. And these stories are related mostly to driver implementation and unit test. And that's all from my side.
Great. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I might have just missed this, but do we think this is an appropriately scoped sprint given the amount of work you have in it for 3 weeks?
I think it's a 4-week sprint, right?
4 weeks?
I thought it was 3.
Yeah.
You know, I could be
It's a
wrong.
holiday next week.
4 weeks, but effectively 3.
Exactly.
Sorry, is it 3 weeks or 4 weeks? Because I saw 4 weeks.
So US holiday-wise, effectively 3 weeks, but if you guys are willing to work, I guess 4.
Next week is 4th of July.
Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh, you know,
It's a 4-week sprint, but I mean, yeah.
most of our brigade members do not celebrate 4th of July, so I mean it's not a joke. It's true. So, but let's put it this way: because of other deadlines, we have to provide. I mean, we have to do all of this by the end of July for sure. So. So I guess it is realistically scoped, yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Carmel.
You're welcome.
Localization brigade. I think I'm not sure whether Simon is intending to be doing this or if he just created the stories. But I think the idea here is that some of the views will be localized or internationalized, I guess, and then they can be localized by various volunteers from the community after that's done. All right, ISSU.
All right, so basically this sprint for ISSU is focused on the second half of ISSU, which is implementing the actual services that will manage upgrades. So updating the cluster store to track version information for nodes, implementing the actual upgrade service, and updating the Netty protocol for versioning. So I know we talked last time about getting some help with this. I actually reached out to a community member that's interested in helping with ISSU, and I'm hoping to get him to collaborate with me on a lot of this stuff, and hopefully offload some work to him. So we'll see how that goes.
That's great. It's good to hear. Who is it? Just out of curiosity.
His name is Kishore. I don't have his last name here, but
okay.
It's on the dev forum. My discussion with him. So
great. All right. Thank you. Sprint to QA.
Yeah, so we're planning on doing some work to make tests easier to write, and then some documentation stuff. These are probably not in the correct order, but continuing to create a cluster class for tests on, then making sure we have a standard way to start up a cluster in our tests, and make sure all the tests are using that method. We want to look at being able to better display standard deviation for the scale and performance tests. And that's mostly just investigating tools that work well with the wiki and the database server we use. And then there's a bug, which is probably pretty minor, and fixing something in test on.
All right, thank you, John. So I think that's it. So just out of curiosity, I presume everybody except the teaching, build and packaging, all of those sprints can be started, correct?
Yep.
Yep. I'm going to then start them in about an hour. Just to give everybody time to settle in. Looks like the dynamic configuration stuff has been updated as well. Okay, good. So I'll start them before 4:30. All right. So unless there's any questions or any suggestions or notes, we can probably adjourn. Going once. All right. Thanks, everybody. Let's have a good sprint like the last one. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.